you've ever wondered when the robots are actually coming, I have news for you. They are already here. I watched one of them that weighs roughly what I do accidentally kick a phone out of the hand of a fellow creator during a dance demo.
That guy's crazy. It's all right. Got that on camera? Yes, I did. Yes.
The phone hit the floor, the robot kept going, and nobody got hurt. And in the context of the 10 days I just spent walking through this part of the world that quietly builds most of the consumer electronics in your house, that wasn't even close to being the most surprising thing I saw. You see, for years, I've been watching this part of the world from the outside, mostly through other people's videos and through the products that eventually show up in our stores. I knew the gap between what they're building and what we get to use was widening. I just never had a clear sense of how wide. I just got back from 10 days across Macau and Shenzhen. The gap is wider than I expected. And one of the proofs of that is sitting on my desk right now, a phone I bought during the trip that I can't buy where I live. I landed in Macau via Hong Kong, though the only Hong Kong I saw was inside of the airport. And honestly, the first thing I saw wasn't the future. It was Vegas. The Parisian, the Venetian, the Londoner, replica Big Ben, across from replica Eiffel Tower, across from replica entire canals and boulevards. We are apparently in Venice. There's even a canal. I got lost the first night just trying to walk between hotels, and the resort district here is connected by bridges over the highway, and you can switch from one casino to another without stepping outside or even realizing you've changed buildings. In 2025, Macau's casinos pulled in roughly $30.8 billion in gambling revenue. The Las Vegas Strip pulled about 10. So in case you're wondering, Macau is 3 times the size of the place you've probably been comparing it to in your head. But it isn't where the future is being built. It's just a casino district. In fact, I was told before I even left Europe that I shouldn't judge China by Macau. Shenzhen is the answer. Macau is just where I had to start because it's where Beyond Expo runs. By the way, if you end up enjoying this video, subscribe, because why not? Beyond Expo is Asia's answer to CES and IFA, hosted at the Venetian Cotai Expo, who flew me out as a guest. I walked the floor on media day with 4 cameras on me at all times, and within 15 minutes one thing became clear. AI is the only theme. Every keynote, every speaker, every brand, the difference here is that AI is baked into everyday products. An AI barbecue that knows what cut of meat you dropped in and how to cook it. AI glasses that translate what someone says to you in real time and display it. Smart soil sensors that gamify watering your plants. AI rings sold as second brains. Basically, everything on this floor is AI that lives in your kitchen, your garden, and your closet. Walking around Beyond Expo, one of the first devices to hit the battery warning after hours of content is my iPhone 17 Pro Max, usually followed by the X100 Mark VI. With zero battery anxiety, I rely on this. The Anker Prime Power Bank, 26,250 mAh at 300 watts total output. 2 USB-C ports provide 140 watts individually, which means the iPhone can hit 50% in 22 minutes and the MacBook Pro to 50% in just 27. But how do I keep track of the charging status? That's exactly why I'd always appreciate a display on a power bank, and the smart display here shows up usage, remaining capacity, and watts per port. Pair it over Bluetooth via the Anker app. I can control everything from my phone, and when it runs out, both USB-C ports take it back to 50% in just 13 minutes. It's under £1.50 TSA approved for carry-on, which matters when you're flying with a bunch of cameras and a backpack full of gear. And if you've got a question, Anker runs something called Ask Me Anker Thing, where people stop them on the street and their engineers answer on video. I'll link the Anker Prime Power Bank in the description. After 2 days on the expo floor, the question I really wanted to answer in my head is a simple one. How fast does a concept here actually become a working prototype. The on-camera interview I'd imagined didn't really happen because the floor was too loud and most of the founders I tried to talk to didn't speak English that well. I almost left without an answer except at one of the networking events. This guy sitting next to us ran a wearable AI camera company called Viago. He was telling me, casually, that they go from a sketch on a piece of paper to a working prototype in about a month. Think of it, software, hardware, marketing, the investment campaign already running. 1 month for what a Western startup would most likely budget 6. To them, that's just a timeline.
This is our AE200 eVTOL. eVTOL stands for Electric Vertical Takeoff and Landing.
Okay.
So this is basically like an electric helicopter. We can use the chargers for EV cars.
Okay.
We can use the fast charging plugs.
And then there were the robots. The one from the start of this video wasn't an outliner. Dog-shaped ones, humanoids walking laps are on a stage, plushy companions designed to hug kids and adults as well, servers, you name it. One of them had a T800 written across its chest. Now the brand absolutely would not under any circumstance confirm that this is a Terminator reference, but you put a T800 on a fighting robot and you don't get to be surprised when people draw the obvious conclusions. One other thing I noticed before I left the floor, a lot of these robots are built on the same chassis or at least share parts from the same bins. In other words, white label hardware, which is proof that they're here to stay. On day 5, I took the ferry from Macau to Shenzhen. About an hour of customs and then 15-minute walk from the hotel is enough to understand exactly what I'd been warned about back in Europe. In those 15 minutes, I passed a Tesla store, 4 Chinese EV brands I haven't seen before, and a Huawei flagship store, all on the same boulevard. 5 minutes into Shenzhen and I've already walked past 3 things I can't buy at home. Of course, I had to duck into the Tesla store first because they have the Model Y L on display, the 6-seater long version of my Model Y, built for the Chinese market and not sold in Europe. It's the longer version of my own car and I cannot own it where I live. Around the corner is the Huawei store, and inside, the phone I told you about earlier, the Pure X, a passport-style foldable running Harmony OS, not Android. Also the same form factor room where the iPhone 4 is going to be in. Even though I knew this phone will be difficult to run where I live, I bought one anyway because there's no way to understand a brand that's this isolated from the Western market without actually using what they make. Super impressive in person, perhaps I'll do a video on it.
Yeah. It's humid. Ooh. And hot.
Yeah, that was the moment I realized I'm taking out the COOLiFY Cyberfold every time I plan to spend time outside. 3 semiconductor cooling plates wrapped around with 14,975 square millimeters of coverage in an 8-channel airflow system in 4 directions. Basically 360-degree cooling for my face, neck and back. An 18-degree Fahrenheit drop in 5 minutes that feels like placing an ice-cold can of soda against my neck, instantly feeling the chill in as little as 3 seconds. The thermochromic plates shift from blue to orange depending on temperature, so I can read it at a glance. I was actually wearing this during my meeting at Oppo HQ in Shenzhen, and even the Oppo team, one of the biggest phone makers in China, asked me what it was and wanted to try it themselves. They were shocked at how well it works. 6,000 mAh battery, 80% charge in an hour, folds down 50% smaller for travel. What's not to like? If you want something lighter with longer battery, the COOLiFY 2S Pro is the same idea, but in a more compact package, and I'll link both of them below. The next day, the question shifted from what's being built to how it's possible, and the answer is a market called Huaqiangbei.
So we're in this tech market area, which is massive, and it is the place where you can buy all sorts of gizmos, gadgets, phones, tablets, anything you can think of, and also the place where you can have everything fixed and repaired on the spot based on the price that you're looking for. So super excited.
If you're a tech nerd, this is the place you've heard whispered about your whole life. Multi-floor buildings of vendors selling every component, every accessory, every gadget that exists or will soon. Repair shops where guys micro-solder iPhone logic ports barehanded under a microscope with no time to talk to foreigners like us. Now a few things stood out here. Prices change the second a vendor sees that you're not a local. And having my local agency along made the difference between the actual price and the tourist price every single time. The place is also the unofficial mecca of accessories, which is how I walked Huawei covers for both the Pure X and my Oppo Find N6, two phones which Apple Store style accessory aisles do not exist for.
So apparently DJI is based in Shenzhen. So this is the place if you want to buy something from DJI.
And then there's the other side of the market, the kind that lives behind the counters. I had vendors literally ask me to turn my camera off and then offer me knockoff Apple Watch Ultras, AirPods Maxes and Patek Philippe's pulled out from underneath the table.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And this is the part I'd been missing all trip. Now, why can't a startup here go from sketch to a prototype in a month? Because everything they need is already inside a few square miles. Components, expertise, manufacturing, packaging, distribution. Most of the brand names you know are based here. ESR, DJI, Insta360, half the names in your house perhaps are most likely here. By the way, we had an organized meeting with Insta360 and visiting the BYD museum, but neither happened to me because I got sick the night before and ended up at a Shenzhen hospital. Even the healthcare is impressive, by the way. Now, the one place I made it though was Bambu Lab, the 3D printer company that has been rewriting consumer manufacturing. I walked into their HQ on the day they launched the A2L, an incredibly affordable printer that can print extra large stuff. 105% more build volume than the previous generation, hands-free leveling, multicolor printing, all in a one machine that cost $469. 10 years ago, a printer with the same capability would have cost probably 10 times and required the manual of a phone book. And walking through their HQ, I got to see an entire miniature world built piece by piece on their own machines. So where is the future being built? In a city the size of New York that grew on top of fishing villages in less than a single human lifetime, where every component on your shopping list can be sourced before lunch, where 30 days from an idea to product is the normal number, and 6 months is what the rest of the world calls agile. Even if you never go there, this matters too because when a place builds the next thing this fast, the rest of the world finds out by being handed it later. You know, the internet used to work fine without you needing to give up your personal information. Now every other platform wants your ID, your face, or your phone number just to let you in. And that's a trend I felt firsthand on this trip, where for the most part, YouTube didn't work, as well as most other Meta and Google services, and I was left relying on Obscura to keep my email working, my work tools accessible, and keep me in touch with the family back home. Obscura is a VPN that, unlike most others, can cryptographically link who you are to what you're doing online. And because its protocol blends your traffic in with the rest of the internet, it actually worked for me in places where other VPNs might get blocked. What's interesting about Obscura is that you don't even need an email to sign up. So if you've been looking for a way to keep the parts of yourself that don't need to be public actually private, you can check it out at obscura.com/this or scan the QR code on the screen for 25% off.
So what was your favorite product that you've seen today at Beyond Expo?
It was a collaboration of various robots, to be honest.
Okay.
This is my first time witnessing robots in real life, so it was very interesting to see their capabilities, how far they've come, how they move, and how cute and intimidating they can be at the same time.
Yeah.
So,
and what was the functionality that made you most impressed?
I think for the most part, because the Beyond Expo tagline was digital to physical, right?
Right.
So I think this was the best implementation I've seen in real life, because I see a lot of products here that are actually digitally inspired and transcending into the physical space.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
If you want to see another foldable phone deep dive, check out my video on the Oppo Find N6 right here. Like and subscribe to the channel as well as my newsletter, and as always, it's been an absolute pleasure. This is E, over and out.